Well, 2023 is almost over. We're a year older. Some of us are a lot grayer. I've been bald for a long time, so that doesn't matter. We stand on the precipice of a new year. And while I'm not generally one for a lot of retrospection, I guess I'll do one of these final year in reviews like everyone else has been doing. So stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Northern Revolutions. I'm Rob, welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. Everyone seems to be doing their greatest lists of 2023 and their best finds and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, what the heck, I'll give you a little sort of, we'll call it the vinyl year in review. And I've gone through and picked my top 3 favorites of a few different categories. I think probably all of these I've shown at some point throughout the year, some of these more than once, but hell, it's the year in review, so let's take a look. Obviously, the first thing I want to talk about is my 3 favorite new releases of 2023. While there was a ton of stuff released, I didn't buy a ton of brand new releases. I've bought a lot of reissues and a lot of vintage stuff, but there were 3 in my mind that I just think were excellent. Number 3 for me is Stevie Nicks' Belladonna Live 1981. I think this came out on Record Store Day back in the spring. It's fantastic. I mean, Belladonna is a great album to begin with, and I love live records. So this is kind of the best of both worlds. There's some great live stuff. I mean, it's all great live stuff. Some great Fleetwood Mac live stuff. Some great solo Stevie Nicks live stuff. My 3rd favorite new release of 2023. Coming in at number 2, only because number 1 was so monumental, is Taylor Swift's Folklore: The Long Pond Studio Sessions. This was a Record Store Day release. Thankfully, a fellow friend in the vinyl community was able to pick one of these up for me because my locals didn't have any. I love this. I mean, obviously we all know I'm a Swiftie, and I love Folklore. This is incredible, I think. Folklore was recorded during the pandemic. All the musicians were in their own studios, and everything just got sent and assembled post-production. Whereas this was the first time everyone got together, and this was recorded live off the floor in this small studio, wherever the hell the Long Pond studios are. I don't know. I love this. Probably one of my favorite Taylor records, essentially done live. It's got a certain ambiance to it, which I really like. And number 1, while this is not a lot content-wise, the significance of what this is would have to be number 1. The Beatles' Now and Then. One song, I know. Talk about the red and the blue in a few minutes, but this is my number 1 because this is the last song to ever be released by the greatest group that ever was. It's been 25 years or more since we had the other 2 new songs. I thought this was very well done. I thought the song was beautiful. I thought it was a poignant capstone to the most storied history in music. So I loved it. I love it. Not loved it. I do love it. It's perfect for what it is. And so that's why this has to be number 1. So moving on, we'll talk about my 3 favorite reissues that came out in 2023. This is an album I've loved since day one. Could never afford an OG, never seen an OG. And so it was released this year on its 20th anniversary. The Darkness, Permission to Land. I love this band. I love this album for so many reasons. The Darkness are awesome. Most people write them off as a joke. And you're entitled to that opinion, but I'm not sure that a lot of folks who have that opinion necessarily quite get what the Darkness are going for. Nevertheless, this was their breakout album, their first album. A lot of memories associated with this, but I absolutely love this. So I'm glad that this was finally reissued on vinyl. I may pick up the box set if the price drops low enough on Amazon, but for now, just the single album will do the trick. My second favorite new release of 2023 fits into that exact same category. An album from years ago that I can't afford an OG on, or there wasn't an OG. Sheryl Crow's Tuesday Night Music Club. The original pressing of this was Record Store Day, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. It's a $300-$400 record up here. I can't afford that. Always wanted, because I've loved this album since the day it came out. So they have reissued this. Thankfully, the master tapes were not lost. Bernie Grundman remastered it. I'm not an audiophile, so whatever. But I think it sounds fantastic. So thrilled to finally have a copy of this that I can listen to on vinyl. And I don't care that it's not the OG from a few years ago. I'm happy with this. And number one favorite reissue of 2023. I've shown this album many times because I think it's phenomenal. 1995's Amanda Marshall. It's her self-titled release, debut. They did, Music and Vinyl did a pressing of this several years ago, but it's very, very hard to find and very expensive. So Amanda just did a comeback tour because she, for legal reasons, has been out of music for almost 20 years. She's back at making music. She's back touring again. So they re-released this classic album, which I never thought I'd own on vinyl. I said before, if you're Canadian, you know most of this album because it's an absolute staple of much music and the radio back in the 90s. Birmingham was the only song that made it in the States, but just a phenomenal 90s pop rock record. Moving on now to the 3 biggest disappointments of 2023. I'm calling this a disappointment because it just doesn't do it for me, and I was afraid that it wasn't going to do it for me, but I bought it anyway. And I have discussed this just recently, but U2's Songs of Surrender. I said I think this project is pointless. Was Edge being bored in the pandemic? Him and Bono reimagined a whole bunch of U2 songs, and by and large, they're boring. I'm a giant U2 fan, but I don't think there's a total of 1 disc worth of songs in here that I find entertaining. I bought it because I'm a U2 completist, but this was just a snooze. If they wanted to do sort of an unplugged kind of thing, I guess they could have done it, but Larry wasn't involved in this because of back surgery. Adam only played on a couple songs, and it really feels like a kind of a boredom studio project. So there's other ways I guess they could have gone about this, but my number 3 letdown of 2023. My number 2 letdown of 2023, the Beatles Red and Blue. No, these are not the 2023 releases. I do not own the 2023 releases. These are the absolutely superb 2014 analog remasters, and they're incredible and they're perfect. But I show them just for visual aid. I made a whole video about what I thought about the Red and Blue albums. I still maintain that I think they're a cash grab for serious Beatles fans. For people just getting into the Beatles, sure, they're a great gateway. But here's what bugs me about them. You have these wonderful analog direct transfers that I just showed. The new ones are digital. And here's what I don't get. People in the vinyl community are always going on about, oh, it's an analog transfer, it's the best. Suddenly this new Red and Blue comes out, nobody gives a shit that it's digital. Seems to me to be a bit of hypocrisy, but whatever. I'm not an audiophile, I don't give a shit. I think it was a cash grab. They added a bunch of extra songs that, a lot of them were remixed for this, fine. A lot of these had new stereo mixes, true stereo mixes for the first time, thanks to Peter Jackson's demixing technology, fine. I guess if that's important to you, whatever. The new songs that they added were just tacked on to the 3rd disc rather than put in chronological order where they should have been. I just think it was a half-assed project. And I call myself a serious Beatle collector. For a serious Beatle collector like me, I don't see a need to buy that. Is it worth me spending $250 to get a couple discs of new stereo mixes? No, it's not. That's just my personal opinion. If you want to buy it and you enjoy it, great. But again, these are my picks for 2023, and I thought the red and blue was an absolute letdown. I own them digitally, so I have heard them. I just think it was a cash grab. The Beatles could have done a much more well-conceived project, but they didn't. And the number one letdown for me for 2023, this box set, which I just showed the other day as well, Bryan Adams live at the Royal Albert Hall. Sounded awesome when they advertised it. This was from his residency this year at the Royal Albert Hall in London. 3 nights, 3 albums performed live in their entirety. Cuts Like a Knife, Into the Fire, Waking Up the Neighbors. Cool. All of them on vinyl. There's also a DVD or a Blu-ray of the show. Awesome. Autographed. Awesome. It's not what you got though. Waking Up the Neighbors, yes, live in front of an audience. It sounds fantastic. The other two albums, while he did perform them live in front of an audience, that's not what's included in here. Live off the floor rehearsal recordings, essentially. The songs are complete in the right order. You know, it's a new recording of the album, but without the audience. Well, that's not what a live record is. So this was very misleading. Shame on Bryan Adams and his people. Not sure what they were trying to accomplish. And the Waking Up the Neighbors album, while it is truly live and sounds awesome, it's a ripoff too, because almost all of the songs, he omits the last verse to keep the running order short. So while I love what they wanted to do with this, this is a complete misfire. Shame on you, Bryan Adams. And now to end on a positive note, my 3 favorite other pickups, or vintage isn't the right word, but not new releases, not reissues, just records that had previously been released that I picked up that I was thrilled to finally add to my collection. The first one, I'm not a big soundtrack guy, but the soundtrack to the movie Walk the Line, which is the Joaquin Phoenix, Reese Witherspoon, Johnny Cash movie. I love that movie. Not a huge Johnny Cash fan, like I appreciate him. But it's one of those movies that's so good that every time I stumble across it on TV, whatever point it's at in the movie, I stop and I watch the rest of the movie. I absolutely love the movie. And I think the soundtrack is fantastic. I think Joaquin Phoenix does a great job of paying tribute to Johnny Cash. I'd never seen this before in vinyl. I knew it was out there, but stumbled across it at one of my local record stores when the wife and I were shopping, and I grabbed it and thrilled to have it. Let's do it a lot. It's great. My second favorite miscellaneous release is the OG pressing of the Goo Goo Dolls' Dizzy Up the Girl. I have been looking for this since I think 2015 when it came out. And there was also record store day pressing after that. Both of those are very expensive. I've been looking for this for like 8 years. I pulled the trigger on an auction on eBay. I got it at a very, very reasonable price. And then like 2 weeks later, they announced an anniversary repress of this for a fraction of the price. But whatever, it is what it is. The thrill of the hunt was great. And I love this album regardless. So glad to have this because it's, you know, drips with 90s nostalgia for me. So. And my number one favorite miscellaneous pickup this year was a gift from a viewer, which I'm eternally thankful for. I have thanked him over email previously, and at some point I would like to reciprocate and find something for him. But Blue Rodeo's Lost Together was not released in Canada on vinyl until 5 or 6 years ago, even though it came out in '92, but was released in '92 in Europe. And over here, these are very expensive and very hard to find. I've never seen one. A viewer had it, and through my talking about Blue Rodeo, really got him turned on to some of the band's other albums, and he picked up the new version of this and gifted me this, which I thought was incredible. This is my favorite pickup, not only because I have longed for this album for damn near 15 years. I just thought that that was such a wonderful gesture for somebody to send me this. So thank you again. You know who you are. I treasure this. I really do. Here you go, folks. There's my vinyl year in review, short and sweet. My 3 favorite new releases, reissues, biggest disappointments, and just general pickups. I hope you enjoyed that. Drop it out in the comments. Let me know what some of the highlights of your vinyl 2023 was. I look forward to reading what those are. So thank you, everybody. Happy holidays. Happy New Year. I wish everyone the absolute best in 2024. And we will see you very soon. Catch you on the flip side.